Welcome everyone, my name is Reki Kunda and I would like to give you a warm welcome to today's first ever episode of investing in Zambia, starting from zero or complete beginner. This video is for anyone, and this series is literally for anyone. It doesn't matter if you make a lot of money, if you're just basic, if you're intermediate or you're just a beginner. This is literally for anyone who is in Zambia, who is interested in knowing how shares work and everything about it. So today we're gonna dive deep into what is actually a share. We're going to start from the basics and then we're gonna increase from there. Alright, so let's dive in. But before we begin, I'd like to tell you a story. So I want you to picture a woman by the name of Chanda who wants to start a grocery business. However, she only has 40,000 kwacha, but she needs at least 100,000 kwacha in order for her to start her business. So there's two ways in which she could get that 100,000 kwacha, or let me just say the 60,000 kwacha that she's missing from her 40,000 kwacha. So the first way is that she could go to the bank and ask for a loan. She could ask for a loan for 60,000 kwacha in order for her to start her grocery business. Then there is the other way where she goes to 5 of her friends and she asks for a 12,000 kwacha from each person. However, no one is going to give you free money. So she tells them that after you give me this 12,000 kwacha, if my business does well, I'm going to share with you the profits that is going to make. This is what is known as ownership of the company. And that right there is a share. So in technical definition, you might say that a share is one unit of ownership in a company. So what companies usually do is that they usually split themselves in millions of parts so that they can raise money to do other ventures or to scale even more. And so when you buy those parts or pieces, you technically become a shareholder of that company. So what this means, to put it in perspective, is that let's just say a company splits itself in 1 million tiny pieces and you own about 10,000, or yeah, let's just say 10,000 of those million pieces. Thereby, that means that you own 1% of that entire company. I hope it is making sense. I know it might sound very small hearing you own 1% of a single company, but if you think about it, if a company owns billions, meaning that your 1% is actually quite a lot of money. Now this is where it gets interesting. So we have an entity called the Lusaka Securities Exchange. This is like a market where it allows you to buy shares from local and real companies right here in Zambia. There are also more markets that you can buy shares from, like you could buy shares from Facebook, Tesla, and so on and so forth. But in this video and this series, we're gonna be focusing on Zambian shares. So in this case, the Lusaka Securities Exchange is gonna be very mentioned in this series. So what the Lusaka Securities Exchange does is that it allows for ordinary Zambians to buy shares from these companies. And these local companies that you see every day, you see companies like Airtel, ShopRite, ZCCM, and so on and so forth. So it's like a platform that helps you validate your payments to those shares. So these companies are not abstract. These are companies that you see and trade from every single day. And what this means is that when the company grows, so does your share. So now, how do you actually make money buying shares or owning shares? So to put it in perspective, there's two main ways in which you can make money with shares. First of all is what is known as capital growth. What capital growth means is that, for example, you buy a share at 10 kwacha and then later in time it raises to 18 kwacha. If you sell that share that you own, you have now 18 kwacha, meaning that you get 8 kwacha of profit. And then there is the other way, which is known as the dividends. So certain companies pay you just for owning certain ownership of that company. They can do it quarterly or they can do it twice in a year, depending on the rules and regulation of the specific company that you bought from. So dividends allow you to get paid just for owning a certain share. Let's just say, oh no, this month or these 4 months we've made a lot of money. Since you're a shareholder, here's some cash for you. And this, how it works is that they pay you per share. So for example, they can say, okay, if you have ownership of our company, we're paying you 2 kwacha per dividend. So if you have a lot of shares, that's quite a lot of money. Alright, so I'm going to give you a simple analogy just so that you can understand this. So think of these two ways of making money. For example, you own a certain property. So the first one, capital growth, this is where your house gains value. Let's say you bought a house at let's just say 500,000 kwacha. And then after 5 years, it increases in value. It's now worth 1 million kwacha. And then the dividends part, this is just, for example, you have a house and you put it on rent, and then the tenants pay you, let's say, every month. This is what is known as dividends. So this is not the actual technique of how it works. This is just an analogy to help you remember how you can make money with shares. So the first one is capital growth, and the second one is known as dividends. All right, so now let's clear up a lot of misconceptions that people have about buying shares. The first misconception is that buying shares is only for rich people. This is completely false. You can buy shares simply from your phone, just like I talked about in the reel that I made on Facebook. And secondly is that shares is like gambling. Shares is totally different from gambling, because shares is actually real companies that you see every day. And most of the time we even buy from these companies. I mean, we use Zambian sugar every day in Zambia. And the third misconception is that you need to be an expert in order for you to buy shares. That is also completely wrong. Trust me, like I see a lot of young entrepreneurs buy from shares that have no knowledge of economic or any of that shenanigans. So you can buy shares just by, understanding some of the basics, and then you continuously keep learning. So let's do a bit of a recap. So a share is a unit of ownership in a company, and the shareholder is someone who owns a piece of that company. And for the two ways in which people can earn using shares is, first of all, capital growth as well as dividends. And for the Lusaka Securities Exchange, it is what helps ordinary Zambians buy shares from real and local companies in Zambia. So now for the homework that I'm gonna give you guys is that I want you to go on your browser and search for LuSE. What I want you to do is I want you to analyze a lot of companies that are there. Just visualize them. Don't buy anything yet. I just want you to get, comfortable with their website and as well as their applications. Just see some of the information that is provided there. And for the next lesson, we're going to talk about why do people actually invest in shares. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, as well as share the video to some of your friends that may be interested in buying shares and knowing more about shares.